How do you tell a story about someone that had such an impact on life in this world at such a young age? How can you possibly put it into words about how many lives was impacted by them? Not just people his own age, but even adults. Is it even possible or realistic to come close to being able to tell the story or even do it justice? Realistically, it's probably not. But this is the attempt. This is our letter to the universe, and most definitely to the one we lost, with the hopes he knows how much he's loved and missed.
It's a letter to my best friend, the homie. Forgive me, I hate that it's been so long. I've been missing home. It's a letter to my old friend, the family. Forgive me, I swear I'm coming home. I know where I'm from. Dear bestie, to tell you the truth, everyone's more separate than ever. We all alone and together. Depression's the new normal. Was horrible and it's spreading, and I don't know where we headed. But when I'm close to the edge and I'm feeling over dramatic, and order falls into chaos, and chaos causes a panic, I take a moment to let it be. I pray upon it, I meditate for better days, a better me. It's a letter to my best friend, the homie. Forgive me, I hate that it's been so long. I've been missing home. It's a letter to my old friend, the family. Forgive me, I swear I'm coming home. I know where I'm from.
Too many funny moments come to mind thinking about you, Max.
There was some goofy stuff that happened. I don't know if I wanna.
I know I said this last time, but he's just the worst basketball player ever.
I'm gonna just say the word Sasuke, but people will know.
You're standing 2 feet away from the hoop, and he airballs, or he throws it over the backboard. That's terrible.
He won't even say anything. He'll just come up to you, be like, my fault, and give you and smile and laugh it off.
Anytime he laughed when he hit puberty, it was just the squeakiest, weirdest sound you've ever heard.
His laugh, man, it was always just goofy. You know, it's like, I can't even imitate it. My voice doesn't even have that octave or that range.
Like, he's just funny. Like, he doesn't even do it. He'll just smile at you and look at you, and it's just like you're just goofy. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Just his hair was always so funny because he always tried to make it look good. And then he's got his tattoo. Oh, when he got his tattoo, I was all over. I was like, how long did it take you really, Max? Like, would you cry? He goes, Coach, I got it in one day. I go, Max, how many sittings? Really? One, Coach, one. It didn't hurt at all. It's like, I heard Martin said you were crying. I heard you were crying. He's like, I wasn't. He started just getting so mad. He always wanted to know he was tough, dude. I was like, Max, because he was such a good-hearted kid, man. Max always wanted you to know he was tough. And I was just make sure he knew he wasn't.
He would always just come in late, and then he'd always have some like excuse, like, oh, I was busy doing, like, no you weren't, you're late. No you weren't, we waited on you.
Bro, that man was late like every single day.
I don't know. I think there was so many goofy moments with that dude. It was just his laugh. The way that he would just be going crazy.
His laugh was just so contagious. Like, I would just be sitting there and he'd start laughing, and instantly everyone's laughing just because of his laugh is so funny and cute.
They would be up in the man cave down in the hall, playing games, whatever, and you just walk in there, and they could just not be doing anything, but they'll just start giggling, and then Max will have that goofy ass laugh. It was endearing, you know. It was great to hear too, you know. It's like, all right, you guys, they're leaving. What are you guys doing? I don't know, we're just gonna go do this. And I said, all right, don't do anything stupid. And then they're all quiet until they get to the door, and you hear that laugh, and you just know that it's gonna be okay, you know.
I loved having him around just so you could hear that.
Or I would always joke with him, like, don't text me you leaving. Like, send me a picture of when you in your car leaving, because you're not going to be on time.
So we had Spanish together, and we had to do like a Spanish project and our theme was High School Musical, and so he was Troy and I was Gabriella, and we were remaking like the dancing scene that they did. He didn't know how to dance with her, so then that was like the ending scene, and so we had to like slow dance outside around the tree, and so yeah. I got secondhand embarrassment just like watching it. Like my cheeks got red because I couldn't really watch it. I looked at the water instead. I think we got an A, but it was everyone's favorite part. But he was so awkward about it, and he was like, like, what do I do? And yeah, but it was funny.
We'd be in the hot tub hanging out, and then he'd have to leave early because his mom would want him home. And then we'd check his Snapchat location. He's not home. He's at somebody else's house. I'm not going to give any names, but it was a female's house.
It was me, McKenna, and Ava, and him, and we were all in the car going back to his house from like someplace like Dutch Bros or something, and we wanted to see his dog for the first time, and we were like, what's the dog's name? Because we wanted to like obviously greet the dog, and he was like Manu, but we thought he was saying my name the whole time. He was like, my name, and we were like, no, what's the dog's name? He was like, my name. We're like, it's not Max, we're not stupid. And he was like, it's my name. And we were like, Max, stop playing with us. We know it's not your name. And he kept just saying Manu, but we all were stupid and heard my name. And he was like, he started like yelling at us, and it was the funniest thing because he was so like annoyed that we were getting it so wrong. And then he was like, Manu. And we were like, oh, we finally realized it. And we even checked the tags when we even hit the dog because we thought he was just so delusional and was like, we know you didn't name your dog Max after yourself. Like, who would do that?
There's so many goofy moments with that guy. I can't even describe one.
Who you were as a person had to start somewhere, and it started with where you were born. Humble beginnings rich with culture, which at birth began to shape you. Less than 2 years later, your brother was born, and the foundation of family and who you were to become was set.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't know he had a brother, and then they would always say Martin, and I just thought it was another kid that wasn't part of that little group, but it was always, Max and Martin, so I just thought it was like Max, Martin, and Keola, or how that dynamics. Then one day Andre's like, Max's brother. I'm like, who? Martin, I was like, oh, but yeah, Max just always. Even it was kind of frustrating to Keola sometimes, no, me and Martin are gonna go do this, and he always set that time aside and made it known that there was time for Martin. When we looked at Keola and Mika, it was, get my little brother away from me, or no, we don't want to do anything with him. But it was never that way with Max and Martin.
That's just the one thing that I remember most is him talking about how excited he was to see Martin play and stuff.
When I was growing up and people called other kids mama boy and stuff like that, that was seen as soft, that you had to be a certain way, have this rep. But Max had that, but he was, and it wasn't anything bad about being a mama's boy because he put his mom up on the pedestal, That's why we call him a mama's boy. That's why he was a mama's boy. He was, no matter what, he loved his mom. He'd do anything for her, and that's part of who he is, And it's part of what made you just look at him and all the natural talent, all the hard work, all the stuff that just you think came to him easy. Most people would take that and kind of be a little arrogant. But his love for his family, in particular his mom, grounded him. That just made him that easygoing person that we loved.
It's all about his mom. Every time that we were out hanging out together, he'd be like, hey, I gotta go do something for my mom. He wasn't lying, most of the time. But when he did lie, it was about a girl.
After moving to the U.S. in 2006, it was around 2010 to 2011, a chance encounter occurred with some strangers.
We were in transit between Idaho and here, and we were actually just looking for kids in the neighborhood who were our kids' ages.
So we were walking through their empty lots. There were a few that had started construction, and this kid rides up on his bike with another kid. There was two of them, and I was like, Skip, they look like they're like Keola's age. And he was like, okay, that's great. And I said, I think they're Islander too. And I said, I'm gonna go meet them. He said, you can't do that, that's creepy. You're a grown woman, you can't approach these kids. And this is, gosh, they were probably in 3rd grade at the time. But I did, and loved them right away. I was like, they would be great friends for Keola. This is it, this is the neighborhood. So I don't say that we moved here for Max, but we certainly were excited at the thought of him being our neighbor.
It's funny when we say young age, but Max has always been older than his age, maturity-wise. He just had this air that sometimes he was like, we just call him like a man boy. Just aware of things, aware of people, and how to talk to people. Meet a lot of kids at the middle school who talk to you in a certain way, but Max talked to you in a familiar way, but also a respectful way.
I think if you knew Max, you knew Max. There's no pretense. There's no, I'm this way for these friends, this way for my family, this way for my teachers. He was consistent with who he was.
He had this sense of like knowing when things were uneasy, and he would just not try to make them better, but just be himself and show genuine care and interest, stuff you don't see in teenagers,
When you're a teenager, there's always so much worry about what do people think of me and how do I fit in and am I accepted? But he was fine, he accepted who he was, and that allowed him to reach out to other people and make sure that they were accepted, that they were included, that they felt loved. It's so rare to see that level of maturity and level of self-assurance in a kid in middle school or high school.
Max is one of the only few people that have made me feel comfortable being who I am, because I'm deaf, so whenever I didn't really catch something, he wouldn't mind repeating it, and that made me feel comfortable, because sometimes not a lot of people have patience for that, but Max did, because he wouldn't mind doing that, repeating himself or just catch me up on what's going on.
He's so patient, and that ability to just kind of look past the things that drive everybody else crazy. We all have our personality quirks, our flaws, things that make us difficult to be around, and we look for people in our lives who are patient with that, who love us in spite of that. And Max was really able to do that in a way that most kids that age aren't. Usually when people irritate you, you're done with them when you're a kid. And it's not a skill you really fine-tune until you become an adult. But from the moment that he became a part of our life, that was just part of the deal.
It was really cool because there's always that breath of fresh air throughout your day whenever you just saw him and you're just oh Max. It was just really refreshing to see somebody that you're comfortable with around school and going to school with.
Other than that initial time meeting him, I never remember a time when he wasn't just part of everyday life in our house, in our neighborhood, wherever we were, he was somehow there. They played football on different teams, but we were always around each other, even on the weekends.
I came to the game late because, when Keola played on the Cougars, I was deployed. So they were playing these football games and everything, and I just assumed that they were on the same team because, we just live right around the corner. And I think it really worked out best for them not to play on the same team because I think it built the friendship even more because they can root for each other, and then on those rare occasions when they did play against each other, it just made for fun, football and fun conversations afterwards. You know, afterwards, oh, dude, Max broke your ankles, or, you know, why didn't you hit Max harder? You know, and you know, that was one that always I was like, dude, you had the opportunity to, you know, put the wood to this guy, but, you know, it's Max, you know. And Max would say to him, like, dude, you should have.
And with your first season, you showed passion for the game, for life, and for people.
A lot of things that people don't say is he was an insanely hard worker when it came to everything. Like, everyone knows football, he put in a lot of work. When he got injured, he would always do his therapy, always go the extra mile to get better. Always make sure his family's right, help them out with whatever they needed. Sorry, man, I can't hang out today. I'm doing stuff with my family. I mean, even stuff like playing video games. I remember one time I came over and Keola was laughing at him because he had a whole book of plays just for Madden. Just when it came to anything, he was such a hard worker.
Max showed at an early age as far as, you know, studying the game, you know, not just, you know, working on his end zone dance, but running routes, you know, timing routes, watching placement of feet, things like that, that you just don't see in, you know, 11, 12-year-old kid.
It was our jamboree. I think we were playing the Cougars, I believe it was, which Keola was on that team. Hand the ball off to him. He goes to the right side, breaks free, and then he's running the last 10, 15 yards, and he throws up, you know, like this. And he's so excited, and he scores. He's just so happy. That was his first touchdown. I remember everybody was like, dude, what are you doing? Chill out. And he was just overly excited, but that's something that you can't take away from him because everybody has their first time doing something. And then from there on, it was just business. Whenever he scored a touchdown, just give it to the ref or set the ball down. He wasn't, I don't think he ever did something like that again, to be honest. Whatever he had set in mind, he was gonna tackle that obstacle easily and more, you know, if not more. Just because he was that determined person, he was that hardworking person that, you know, when people go and party and do whatever they would do, he'd be working hard. No, bro, I can't come. I'm doing this. I'm helping out with family, or I got to do homework. You know, work hard, play hard. That was pretty much how he was. He probably knew that he was a inspiring, great person, always happy, but he was never that cocky person. Walked around, showed off, stuff like that. He was always a humble person and kept me humble, inspiring, and super awesome just to be around him, to be a part of his life.
The biggest thing I remember was my first touchdown. Was him being the first person to run up to me and jump on me. It was him, Nino, and Anthony. Those were the three people that came up to me first. But Max was the first person. It was like a reverse or like a sweep or something. And I used to play receiver, and basically I got the ball, ran down the sideline for probably about like 20 yards, scored my first touchdown. It won us the game because it was like our only touchdown that we put up that day. But yeah, it was Max. Max was the first person that came up to me, and I remember, you know, seeing his face, him jumping, and I was like happy, you know, because it was my first touchdown. I was a second grader.
In middle school, nothing changed except the amount of people that you were able to connect with.
The Max that I know is the, like, I could be a total bum. I could just be like wasting my life away and just being nothing, and he would be the guy that would throw his hand out to pick me up. And I think that's the Max that I know in and out of football. He was the same way, I guess you can say, in a sense right there. He always had that leadership mentality. Always been, I guess in a sense, if there was a bunch of people in a room and Max was standing, you would most definitely feel his presence. The dude was just such a good aura, such a good person, and I think he carried himself the same way on and off the field.
Max had the most beautiful smile, not even just because like he just had like a beautiful smile, just because if he smiled at you, you would automatically smile. Nobody knows exactly why, but you could just feel like his energy almost. Like if he smiled at you, you could be having the worst day ever.
and he just looks at you, smiles, and you just smile.
His smile is, when you see it, you want to smile, even though when you're sad. So when you look at him, you're like, he's smiling, like, bro, stop smiling. We always stop smiling, man. But yeah, it's always good to see him smile. Made everyone happy. It was like a joyful smile.
There's no way you could be mad around Max. I could be having the worst day. Like somebody could have like kicked my dog or something, and I'd be around Max just happy as hell.
My first memory of hearing about Max was from Logan, 7th grade, when they got to Camacho, and him talking about this Max Aunese. But I could never say the last name. I had to ask it over and over. I'd try and say Max, I'd say Max, and he'd say Aunese, and I'd go, yes. And then over time, they just kind of started bonding in the social media. I could see him on their phones. So it just kind of started showing up and then just started coming over. The first time I met him was after school on the sidewalk at Camacho. And he looked everything that I could tell Logan was excited about meeting.
But with making friends, there's a group you were a part of that left a lot of people questioning the name of it.
Chamel.
Chamel?
Chamel.
Chamel plus N.
I think they're all just friends. I think they made a big group chat and then they were trying to come up with a name, and then they obviously just came up with Chamel, which I don't know why they came up with Chamel.
Well, it just was this group of boys that were getting closer, and some had just met, some had been together for a bit. They come from different elementary schools and filtered into Camacho together. And it just is their initials, and they just kind of ran with it. You know how in your group of people, you know, a joke, whatever just goes on forever. So it just kind of stuck with them.
Yeah, it's Chris, Hunter, Isaac, Max, me, Logan, and Nick. And that's, it started off as like 4 of us, and it was called High C, and then it went to Chamel, and then Nick came along, and then it was Chamel plus N, and that was all throughout high school. That was family. And even through middle school, like, I've known these people forever.
Eli's like a brother to me. Like, we've always been super close. So I think I knew Eli before I knew Max, and I kind of knew about it because of E, and he would talk about, oh, Chamel's getting together this weekend, oh, Chamel. And my brother would always, because he was the same age as some of them, and best friends with Eli, and he was like, oh, Eli's friend group Chamel, they're so weird. They're so, like, they're so weird, all this stuff. Like, they were just, like, the tightest knit group of guys ever. Like, some of the things that they would do, like, they were very close, and it's just, I would hear a lot about it from E, and he, like, obviously him and Max were so close, and just the stories, and they were like brothers, all of them. It was really, like, really cool to see, because I'm not in a friend group like that, and I think it's so cool that this group of guys can, you know, be as close as they are. It was really cool.
So I guess it came in reality because it was like, whenever it was like a super squad, whenever we were all together, it was just all love, and then we just all kind of came up with the name, and then we made the group chat, and now even till today, like, we still be blowing it up, having fun in it.
But even to this day, there's still an argument on who came up with the name.
You know, this actually it's an argument, because I'm pretty sure I decided on the name, but Isaac swears, and Chris, so it's like, I'll let them have it. No, I'll take ownership. That's my name.
In high school, you continue to let your heart pour out and show that's who you are and who you've always been.
He was very genuine, and you could tell he cared about what you were saying. Like, most people, when you talk to someone, they'll listen and say something about them, but he'd actually, like, continue, like, ask you questions about it. You know he's, like, listening to what you have to say.
Well, he was, like, really, really nice to, like, everybody, and so, like, I thought he was just, like, doing that to, like, front. But he was, like, really nice, but then, like, as it went on, he was just, like, nice to literally every person that he ever encountered. So I was like, wow, this is weird. Like, I've never met someone, like, genuinely this nice. So.
he was so genuine in his interactions with people that I think it was hard to not feel close to this kid.
He's just super fun to be around. Like, you walk into a room and you see him there and like, yep, my day's instantly better. Even when like I'd show up to Hunter and Logan's house all the time and Max would just be sitting there and I'd just go crazy. I'd like jump on him and just be excited to see him, and just him outside of football was, if you knew him as a football player, he was a million times better when he was off the field.
I don't remember a time I was ever mad at Max, and I don't remember a time when anybody was really mad at Max or anything.
I'd always end my day in the same class as him, and so when I'd like see him in passing periods and stuff, he would always just have like the biggest grin on his face, just smiling at everyone, and I wondered how he could like be so happy all the time.
Max was just good all the way through, good heart, good person, but Max had a little Eddie Haskell in him, man. Max sat in the corner in the front. I always put him in the front because I knew he would at least give everyone else their assignments when they hand him back. But man, he would get his work done really fast, and he'd always be just like this sneaky something. I'd just go over there and I'd look on his phone and go, Max, dude, come on, man. You got stuff you could be doing besides looking at all your fantasy scores and all this kind of stuff.
He was honestly a good kid, but he liked to talk to Logan and Wyatt during that class also, so he didn't like doing his work in that class, but he always got it done by the end of the day while having fun at the same time.
The stories that I would hear about, like, a lot of it just had to do with them being out and like in the car dancing and singing, and then the Snapchat videos that we would see of all of them just literally living their best lives, and especially with everything that 2020 brought to the kids because they were all graduating, to still be able to see that kind of joy come out of all of them. And I know now, I didn't realize it at the time, but I know now how significant Max was as a driver in that.
Sometimes there's kind of two kinds of people, right? There's people that you're happy when you see them coming in the room, and then there's other people that you're happy when you see them leaving the room. Well, Max is like the ultimate guy that everybody's happy that he's entering the room, you know? And he brings that joy and that energy to his sort of interactions with friends, his time at school, and then obviously on the field.
He's like a respite, you know, for people who are struggling or who might have challenging things in their lives. Max is one of those people that just brings peace. For Kayla, he helps keep him grounded, you know, when the temper flares, when the frustration builds. You know, he's a steady presence.
This young man had the ability to have everybody who was sort of around him and associated with him feel very special and feel like they're part of his life and he's part of their life. So to lose somebody like that is just a huge void.
I think the very first thing I can like for sure remember is watching videos of them all dancing. A lot of the things I would see would come secondhand, but I remember like the videos and the dancing, and I remember seeing Max and thinking like, oh my gosh, he is so adorable, and like his spirit, like just his face and how it lit up when he'd move and dance, and like it felt like he was looking at you.
Honestly, I'd want to raise my kids and tell them about him. Like, raise them to be like Max. I feel like that's everyone's, like, every parent's goal is to raise a kid and have them be like him. Like, just the way that he cared for people and was so genuinely kind to everybody, that is like the way everybody should be.
As much as we try to avoid it, Max, there's one thing an athlete can never fully avoid: injury.
It was hard because that was when we were first like starting to get a lot closer, and I remember we ran a simple play at Ole, and I was right in front of him and he was behind me, and I look back to see him catch it, and I just hear it was disgusting, just some gross sound. See him on the ground holding his knee, and I knew at the time, I thought it was the worst possible thing. I thought that he tore his ACL or something gross like that, but I didn't. It was just hard on him. I know it was hard on him. It was hard on me, knowing that what he went through to get to where he was.
Yeah, I texted him. He said he obviously hurt his knee and stuff, and I like wanted to cry. I felt so bad because I knew how, you know, obviously important football was and everything. And I'm pretty sure me and McKenna were together when he texted us, and yeah, he was heartbroken. I mean, that was hard for sure.
Dude, it was super difficult because that was my first time I saw even the guys will say it even afterwards, like the man gained a little bit of weight.
It was tough. We went right to the hospital after that happened, and just, you know, to see him understanding the scope of what had happened to him, and how that was going to impact his goals. I mean, he understood that this wasn't just a little thing. And it hurt. It hurt him. It hurt to see him because he was so goal-oriented and so mature and driven in his ability to achieve the things that he wanted. And this was like throwing a wrench in the works of everything.
Max he was a very unassuming athlete. When you saw Max when he just got back from his knee injury, he wasn't the same kid.
But you know, in spite of that, it wasn't something that was final for him. It didn't change who he was. He was knocked down and he got back up, knowing it would shift his goals, but he met that head on.
When you get hurt, it changes you and it makes you grow up a little bit because you got to take things more seriously. And who knows if that had anything to do with it or not. But his maturity and his view and outlook on things was rare compared to some of the other kids that I've worked with.
I think in life adversity always takes place, but there was nothing that I think that he couldn't do. In a sense, for a lot of these people, and even me myself, like, yes, he was like my best friend, but there was a little bit of like, I idolized him for that, because like you could throw rocks at him all you want, but he was still gonna push.
Never be able to speak for him, but knowing the type of person he was and what he went through up to that moment where he injured his knee, I don't even know how he got through that and was able to come back way better and stronger mentally. I mean, I couldn't even imagine what he went through.
I don't know how somebody can literally blow their knee out and then come back in his junior year and do the things he did. That's just, I don't know. That kind of just shows in that whole situation about the type of person he was.
I mean, I would have achieved anything he set his mind out to do, I believe. I don't really have any doubt. I mean, there's always obstacles that pop up that are unforeseen, obviously, but I mean, anything he set his mind to, he had people behind him that would support him through anything he chose to do, so I don't think there'd be any doubt in my mind that he couldn't do what he wanted to do.
Your heart was already on display as a person. After working your way back from injury, we got to see the football player.
Max, the football player.
The first time I actually met Max was the first game day, and he wanted his wrist taped. I would tell them from day one, you know this doesn't do anything, right? Like, this wrist tape does not do anything, and they're just like, I don't care, it's for the looks. And then he was very specific. It had to be a certain length, it had to be a certain tightness, and it had to look perfect. And then instantly it was like, do you have a Sharpie? Because they had to write something on it too. So it was just every time. And then every now and then I'd get it mixed up. Oh, can you just add it a little bit higher? And it's just like, okay.
Same person, but like him off the field had a little bit of spice.
There was a little bit of Max, the non-football player, in him on the football field, where he'd be goofy at times and just make jokes like he would do off the football field. But when it came down to crunch time and being serious, Like, you could just see it in his eyes, like he was locked in.
Man, I mean, it was pedal to the metal with that kid all the time, man. His foot was on the gas. There was no brakes with Max. I think when he got injured, I think he had that realization that, man, one play, I'm done. And he just took it to heart, I think. And he would try and tell kids all the time, you never know, you never know, you never know.
He was a leader outside. His friends looked up to him as just the kind of person that he was. And then on the field, players looked up to him, like with his serious injury that he had sophomore year, coming back junior year, getting some playing time, and then senior year just killing it, doing what he needed to do and stepping up and being the leader for the team that he needed, or that they needed. And then, with his friends, he's always there. He's got their backs. He's gonna encourage them when they need it and be supportive. But then there's that side where he's serious on the field, and then he's like goofing around with his friends. So there's that opposite. But then he can also, you tell him to do something and he's gonna do it. Like, he's gonna take it seriously and he's gonna do it.
Max is he's that kid that you want. You want your program kids, and the program kids, Max is a program kid, and sometimes your program kids aren't the ones that are the most successful. Well, Max was the program kid who was extremely successful, but he always did the right thing. And when you see that in the community, every time he was in the community, he was doing something. It was always the right thing. He was that kid that they went to pregame meal at Subway, and he was a kid who got out of his car and helped push somebody off the side of the road. I mean, he was a kid that, even when he wasn't wearing the jersey, he was always doing something right, and he never asked for anything in return. And he was that guy, and he was raised the right way. He was raised by great parents, and his brother's just like that too. So I mean, that's how just the impact he had on the community was so positive, but it wasn't anything Max wanted. That's just who Max was. And I think high school kids, you don't see that in high school kids. Everyone wants something. Everyone thinks they're entitled to something. That's not Max how it was. Max was a genuine-hearted, good-hearted kid who just wanted to do right and be right and see people that, hey, it's okay to be a good athlete. It's okay to be good in the community. It's okay to be nice to everyone. It's okay to have a huge heart. I mean, that's what Max was. Max was all heart, 24/7, 365.
Your junior year, it was a first all over again. The kid who was excited as a young man now had the chance to do it again.
I think he got his touchdown kind of early, because I knew we were trying to. Sheldon was getting late in the year. He was one of our top three receivers, JJ, him, and Isaiah. Isaiah and JJ already had a couple touchdowns on the year. So we're trying to get Max one.
I played 9 plays that game. I was pissed. I was like, I wanted to play. I wanted to make first team all league, first team all area, all the first teams. And I played 9 plays that game, and I was pissed. I wanted to get some stats,
So we're trying to get everybody involved.
I'm just sitting on the sideline, you could call it pouting. I was irritated, and I just wanted to be alone.
I can't remember the play, but I roll out right. I hit Max, thinking it was only gonna be like a little 10-yard thing, but Max got a little jiggy on it, and then juked a couple people. Ended up scoring.
I'm just chilling by the 25-yard line, and the 25-yard line where he scored, and I see him score. And at that moment, I wasn't sad anymore.
And then you would have thought it was probably a little 10-year-old girl who scored. He jumped up and down, my first touchdown, my first touchdown.
And I have never heard him talk in this voice before. I'm not even gonna try and recreate it.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Get that. Let's go, man. Let's go, baby. Hey, let's go.
And we all celebrated. I haven't seen anybody that happy.
And at that moment, I wasn't even sad anymore. I had a fun rest of the game. I was hanging out on the sidelines, and every once in a while when we'd be on defense and he'd be off the field, I'd just go headbutt him or just mess around with him. And I don't know, that was one of the greatest moments of my senior year, and I didn't even know part of it.
About time.
When he got his first one, man, against Shelton, it was just like a relief, I think. The more he got it, but I think that's when he arrived a little bit, you know. He kind of just like, first one's out, and then he's all the time.
In the off season, you pushed, and coming into your senior year, you left it all on the field. And going into your last game of high school, someone had the chance to return a favor. Where you were there for him on his first touchdown, he would be there for you on your last.
Whole game, we was like running that same play, and Max was like getting annoyed. He was like, bro, like, I'm tired of running this play, bro. Like, coach is really making me mad. It's not working. I don't know why we're running this play over and over again. And like literally right when he says that, I call the play, and he was like, bro, like, are you serious for another time? And I was like, bro, like, it's good. We'll turn it into something that's fine. Bro, that same play, we come out the huddle, and he's like, bro, whatever, bro. Come out the huddle, he runs like a little 5-yard out. I throw him the ball, and he just takes it down the sideline. And I was like, let's go.
And you wake up and you're like, yo, yeah, boy, yeah, baby,
At that moment in life, we had no idea that would have been your last touchdown. But you had other things in mind, other dreams, and other desires that you were looking to pursue.
He wanted to be a physical therapist. Like, he would fill me in on, like, if he was going to go play football, where he was going to school, and, like, all that stuff. He would talk to me about it, you know, and get my opinion. I've always wanted to be a physical therapist, so we would always talk about, like, oh, we'll work together when we're older. We'll both be physical therapists. Like, when I had told him, like, I was looking into ASU because they have a really good sports medicine program, and he said, no, I just committed there today, or I just, you know, whatever there today. Because he was so interested in sports medicine. So he was asking me about it and stuff, and I remember when he told me, he was like, Sam, I don't think I'm gonna play football next year. I think I just want to focus on school and you know, have that college experience and stuff. And you know, I asked him why, and he just said, you know, I love the sport, but it's not what I want to do anymore. And I was like, you know what? I completely get it. It's hard to make that decision, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do and what's gonna make you happy. And I think he would have done amazing at ASU, and who knows what he would have gone into, whether it was athletic training or kinesiology or, you know, a physical trainer or a PT or something. But whatever it was, he would have done great.
That guy was such a knucklehead sometime. He would have figured out something else he wanted to do. He probably been an MMA fighter. That guy would have done multiple things. He wanted to be a physical therapist. He could have tried to walk on at ASU. He would have done something else. I guarantee it. He would not have stopped, because that dude would always look to push and compete. He would always do something to push himself, and I guarantee it. He would be living it, man. He would be having a great time in Arizona right now. And if he didn't make the team, I guarantee he'd find something else to compete in.
With high school behind you and your path set for college, you were excited about life and seeing the world.
Logan and Max had planned a trip to go see Wyatt, and down in Georgia, then on to Florida with Wyatt's family. That trip was really something. I mean, I was getting pictures of stuff that I'm at 52 never have done yet, and some I won't do anymore. But I mean, they were zip lining, they went in a helicopter ride. That was a cool picture. That was like in the video. That was really cool. They just going there, they would have never thought that was going to happen. They had a really, really good time. And then the Chamel group went down to California. They were supposed to go to Hawaii, and you know, anyway, with the pandemic, they weren't able to do that. So they all went to California.
No, we were having a lot of fun. You know, like, oh man, there was so much stuff that happened. It was ridiculous.
They had a great time. They were on their own. in a condo right by the beach. They brought longboards, so they were doing that all over.
It was a lot of just hanging out on the beach, just talking to bystanders. Max, let me tell you, Max was the most confident dude I've ever met.
I'm sure that group of boys, I don't even want to know any stories of girls and whatnot, because that bunch of handsome young men down there having a great time.
It was so funny. He would just see like a group of girls, and then he would just go up like lone wolf, or it'd be him and Logan, and they'd just be going crazy. And like we'd be going into the shops, and they would just go off, and he's like, bro, I just got a snap, bro. And I'm like, Max, no way. And he's like, bro, I told her I'm going to ASU and she loved it. And I'm like, bro, chill out. And then like you're using you go to Arizona State card. I love it.
They came back on a Wednesday night. That Wednesday night, it was July 15th. And Mita that morning said, you're gonna ride up with me. And I was like, I'm not sure, I don't know if I can get off on time, blah, blah, blah. She said, okay, let me know. Something about it, I just thought, you know, how often anymore do you get that quality time in the car with kids, right at that age? So I thought, why am I, yeah, no. But I'm also, at that age, you also don't want to be that mom, right? So there's this balance you try and find. And I thought, no, I'll go with Mita, that'd be great, and we can talk more too, it'd be nice. I'm really glad I went. Really glad I went.
We were at Jaden's house the night before, so July 17th, that night. I think it was like his graduation party, and Max and Logan and everybody just got back from California, so it was like exciting to see all them again. Wyatt just flew in.
I mean, Gorman's house was always a thing for us.
That night it was, we were all just kind of hanging out, having a fire and stuff like that, and I actually have some videos from it that I haven't posted much about. Like there's a video of me walking out, and you know, then I was super heavy set, so Max was just like, E, look at E, and I'm just like, I watch it sometimes, I'm like, man, I miss that dude. But it was fun.
We're just hanging out, ate some food. Downstairs we had the loud music, so we're all just dancing. And I think he made a lot of TikToks with other people.
There was like a bunch of people like outside by the bonfire, and then we were like in the living room. And then we start making TikToks with Max, and so it's like me, Matei, Anastasia, and like we start doing this, like, I don't remember which one it was, but we were like just doing TikToks, and like he was doing them, his smile was there, and he was just like having so much fun, and even though he was dancing very sillily, he was having fun.
Some of the girls there started talking about how they knew this like cool swimming place and that we should all go, like whoever kind of wanted to come. And so we didn't really like make the plan for sure, but then
it was like really early in the night, and he was like, all right guys, like I'm gonna go.
I asked him because I needed a ride home. I was like, Uski, give me a ride home. He's like, yeah, I got you. He's like, all right, we can leave like around 10 or 11. And he's like, okay. We're driving, and we're like, it was crazy because we're talking about our future. For some reason, I didn't want to leave the car when he dropped me off because I haven't seen him in a while because he was gone on this trip. And he was like, we can ride around for a little bit before he dropped me off. And he was like, okay. So we're just talking, laughing. And when he dropped me off, man, before I closed the door, I always said, I love you, Uso. Get home safe, all right? And he's like, okay, I will.
I was at the rack. Just gonna get a little training session in, get a little throwing session in. And Max had just got back from, it was either Cali or Florida, one of the two, I don't remember. And I remember seeing him, I walked up to his car. I was really trying to get him to stay out with me and come throw with us and train with us because it's been a minute since I saw him. And he was just like, nah, like I'm gonna go swimming at a lake with some friends. And I was like, all right, bro, like be safe. And like last words we said was like, I love you, bro, be safe. And after that, he went to the lake, and then yeah, that's when everything happened.
It felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from.
I remember every little detail.
Like just looking back on the day, I just feel like numb.
My heart just like sank, and I didn't know what to do.
I don't think I have cried that hard over someone.
Yeah, that's a phone call that I never thought I'd get, and one that still kind of haunts me to this day.
I haven't really even spoke to many people about this, but on that day he went to go see his dad, and when he was driving back, he gives me a call. And the night prior to that, actually the 17th, we were playing Call of Duty, and we were going crazy, just having a ton of fun on it. And I called him. I was like, dude, we gotta run it back. And then he was like, bro, I'm about to go swimming at this spot. Like, would you want to go? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go. Just me being the self-conscious person I was then. I was like, I really don't want to go out and swim or do nothing like that.
Max, Hunter, Logan, White, and I'm pretty sure it was. We had plans that night. We were gonna do something. I don't remember what it was, but we were gonna do something. And Max, Logan, and then I think somebody else asked me to go to wherever they went with them. And I was like, I got 3 hours of sleep. I just want to take a nap. I'll see you later, guys.
Max also wanted to go to Ava's pool, one of our good friends.
Me and McKenna were at the pool in my neighborhood, and we had been texting him all morning, like, oh, come swimming, and he said he had said, oh, you two come to we're going to the quarry, whatever. And we were like, no, we don't really want to go, like, we just want to sit by the pool, whatever, and hang out at Ava's. And he was like, okay, I'll come afterwards.
So I sent him the directions and everything on how to get there and where to go. And then we were all in the water. Everyone that was there besides Logan and Jeremiah and him. And then, so they just right away got in. And then he was kind of just standing like with the speed in. We were like, oh, like we're all gonna swim across. And then we were all like, come on, Max. He's like, I don't know. Cause him and Caden stayed back at first.
It was me, Caden, and Lydia that stayed behind because we didn't want to swim across because they were gonna go try to find a rope swing, and then they wanted to race as well. And so we were like right by the shore, and then Serena was like, hey guys, like let's race. Or I'm not sure exactly what she said, it's all kind of blurry honestly. And then Logan started to go, and he's like, come on Max, like let's go. And then Max is like, oh, I don't know, should I go? Talking to like me, Kate, and Lydia. I was like, me and Lydia just had this like whole joke. We're like, no, we're playing mermaids. Like we're gonna stay back and play mermaids. I was like, you can come hang out with us. He was like, I don't really want to go. Like, I don't know. And I was like, just stay and hang out with us. And he was like, okay. But then like literally 2 seconds later, after he saw them all like going, he was like, okay, I think I'm gonna go. And I was like, okay.
When he got in, Logan was like, race me, like let's race. So he just started swimming super, super fast.
I looked over and I saw him. He caught up to all of them. He was going fast.
He caught up and then actually passed us.
And I'm pretty sure it was Christian Boggs. He was like, where's Max?
So I looked at Lydia. I was like, let's go see what's going on. I'm confused.
So I swam back once we kind of figured out that he wasn't coming up and stuff like that. And I passed Anastasia and Lydia because they had like floaties and stuff, and I told them, and they obviously were confused at first.
And they all just start screaming, call the cops, like just freaking out. We can't find Max.
911, where's your emergency?
I actually live down off of 93rd near the airport, and I live just about 2 minutes from Miller, Sylvania, and probably 3 or 4 minutes from the rock quarry down in that area. I just know that it was near dinner times. I keep my phone, my work phone on me pretty much 24/7, and I get special tones when there's a call in an area that we can respond to or serve. And I remember the tones coming out and looking at my phone and realizing that it was there at the park, and that I knew that I was gonna beat probably even first out crews coming from stations. The information that came out seemed pretty tragic, and so I jumped in my staff rig and responded directly to the scene. I knew that the access to the water, there was 3 or 4 different points where people might access it.
It felt like hours. Like it felt like hours went by. I don't know if it was hours, I don't know if it was minutes.
It was just those moments when you knew that you needed to be there quick, but it was trying to figure out or if we're taking a right or a left, or if we're going to be able to get our apparatus there. So it was a lot of anxiety and stress, I think, for the responding crews trying to find that right access point.
I shoot over there, like even before I even knew what the outcome was or anything. Like I went straight there.
I remember running down the trail and there was just young adults everywhere. I ran down, and by that point, Max had already been removed from the water when I got there, and so I was one of the first few people, and we started CPR on him.
I remember just praying that he was gonna make it.
The scene was difficult, knowing that there was so many eyes on us and people that were gonna be emotionally connected to Max. It just made the whole scene really hard.
One of the medics walks up to where me and a couple others were standing, and I don't remember exactly what she said. I just remember her saying he didn't make it, and I just looked at her, and I couldn't help it, and I know they did their what they could, but I just looked at her and I remember screaming that they weren't doing enough and that they needed to take him to the hospital, and that Max was still there. I was like, I know, he's still there, you need to do more. And I just broke down, fell over.
Being a mom of kids that were not much older than Max and younger, just that whole scene was just devastating. As I was exiting the area, I watched Max's family arrive. And the worst part of the job is watching that. I actually drove home and was kind of a wreck the rest of the night.
I got out of my car, I was parked up near the woods, and then I walk, and Elijah Navarre is running full speed at me. And he grabs me and he's like, dude, I don't know what happened. Then everything just went downhill from there.
I remember my dad before, he said, don't swim across, don't swim too far, because he was looking at pictures of it. And I called him, I was like, we swam across, and he was like, why'd you do that? Which was hard, because I knew he told me not to.
We started seeing people posting about it on Snapchat, and we're like, this is not right. It was so weird just seeing everything just in denial.
You remember when Kobe died? And there was all this stuff on social media about it, but nothing officially came out about his death. You're like, oh, this is fake. Something just happened. There was an accident, but they don't know the real truth yet. That's how it felt.
I woke up to a FaceTime call from Hunter, and I was in a deep sleep. So I thought it was my alarm. So I grabbed my phone on my nightstand. I just hit the side button to put it on snooze, and then I fall back, I put my head back down. I get phone's ringing again, Hunter again, and he just says, Max is gone. And at that moment my heart sank, but I didn't know what he meant by that. I hang up, I call Wyatt, and Wyatt is sitting outside of his house just bawling his eyes out, and at that moment, I knew it was nothing good.
I didn't know how to handle it, because I've never dealt with one of my best friends passing away. And so my mom got home, and we were all just standing there, we didn't really know what to do.
I truly hope that's the hardest thing we ever see.
I was also really scared because Logan wasn't answering his phone either.
Anyone who's ever lost anyone you love, that's how hard that can be, but on a mom, that was, it is awful.
I remember looking at my phone though when we were calling the cops, and it was so crazy to me just because 15 minutes before that I had a missed FaceTime call from Max because I didn't know he was coming, and I think he was trying to look for the place, but he tried to call me. I saw that too, and that's when it all kind of hit me that the next day too, is that my last call was Max was a FaceTime call, and then the next call was 911.
Looking back at it, I didn't actually realize what was going on up until a few days later. It honestly, I was just jumping in the ocean with this dude, going crazy, a few days beforehand. And hearing the theories and what people were saying and what happened and people making rumors and stuff like that, and it really showed like people did not know the dude.
Being there with Max and actually physically doing CPR on Max, I would think would be the hardest part on the call, but it wasn't. It was actually stepping away from that and seeing the kids up on the shoreline, and you don't forget the sounds that they make or the things that they say, and not being able to tell them what to do or giving them a good idea, knowing that we were still trying to resolve the emergency for them and not knowing for sure what the outcome was going to be. For me, that was really hard. How do you, how do you fix, 20 broken children? A lot of firefighters or responders will list to you a handful of calls that they'll never forget, and this was one of those for me. And it just kind of, to me, is ironic that it was a day where I wasn't at work. It was a day where I was kind of disengaged, and it was someone I had never met before, but I don't think I'll ever forget the sights, the smells, or the sounds that I felt that afternoon.
Seeing that type of hurt and pain in your child is the most helpless feeling in the world.
When I first saw Logan, when I came back from Central, I've never seen him that sad.
I know he's not talking a lot about it to a lot of people, so I make him talk to me about it. Or we plan time to be together by ourselves for an hour, just even an hour. He's working a lot, and our schedules are so different. But we get together, and I try every couple weeks, probably every 3 weeks or so, to make sure we talk about him, so that Logan can release some of that. Man, is he in a good space for the situation that he was just thrown into by chance.
For my son, he was broken.
And when you have a kid who isn't very vocal about his feelings, or not even really recognizing what those feelings are, it's even tougher.
There's no understanding or concept of peace in God. No explanation for, Max was needed somewhere else. None of those things that you typically use to help you make sense of grief would fit.
It's one of those things where, you can get a little glimpse, but it hit him hard. It still does, There's still times where he just will text, say, I can't believe he's gone, and that'll be it, and that's enough, and that's a lot, from someone like Kayla.
There's no straight path to, I'm gonna be better, it's just somebody breaks your heart and it takes time to get back to what we consider normal, I guess, or to your, to where you're just not, it's not just constant. But there's a lot of days that are like that, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that aren't talking that I wish they would about it. It affected a lot of people.
I think the hardest thing is anytime, and I'm a chaplain, right? So I come upon certain things like this on a fair amount, and so it's like when it's somebody that's your son's age, anybody, no matter who it is, it does cause you to you go, man, this could be my son. Like, what's to say this isn't my kid? None of us are immune to suffering, and it happens. It can happen to any one of us, and so I think that's what was hard as a parent, because you're grieving, with Max's family, and then you're also just having this sense of your mind goes to this place of what if this is my child? And I think that's what makes trauma hard, is when you start to associate it in your own life, and you start to go, man, I got 3 kids, and you start to get that reality check that this could happen to any one of us.
For your friends, the Gormans opening up their home allowed them to come together and heal after losing you.
They were fantastic in opening their home and helping these kids find solace, find comfort, and find support.
Just that sense of this is what we're supposed to do. And it was, it's hard, it was crazy,
We, and I don't know if people know,
So the Gorman house has a rule. We had a rule. No guy-girl sleepovers at our house. Like, we just weren't going to go there, right? Well, obviously we broke all that, you know, for good reason. But we were really concerned for the kids, and we feel like we would actually get up every hour. One of us would walk through the house. And
Not me, you did.
that was true. It was mostly me.
It was mostly you. I was.
But if we got sleep at all, we would get up every hour. But we would walk through and literally just check on the kids. And oftentimes it meant that we'd, you know, sit with somebody in the corner who was crying and talk to them for 15 or 20 minutes and make sure everybody was okay. And then we'd go back to bed, and I'd set my alarm, and I'd just get up another hour later and walk through the house again, and just to make sure they're okay. I mean, some of the kids were grieving so hard, you know, and but I think the beautiful thing is what you're saying. Like the second morning, the fire department shows up at our house with eggs and bacon and juice and with breakfast, you know, like they showed up. And they showed up again and again and made us a big table of snacks and treats, and parents, some of whom we had not met yet. Like we knew their kids, we did not know them. Parents would just drop by and bring ice and drinks and food and snacks, and then, you know, our church would bring dinner every evening.
And in hindsight, I can see how valuable that was and how instrumental that was in helping these kids process what they had experienced.
The fact that our community is as amazing as it is collectively, and the fact that everybody came together and just loved each other, and allowed the kids to move in the way that they needed to. Because again, we do have such a great community. We had resources available to us that normal people would never have gotten.
The kids did stuff, they actually planned activities together. Like when you think about how you are to grieve something, you want to do meaningful activities. Well, we didn't do any of that. Like, we didn't plan it. Like, the kids themselves came up with, hey, let's go up on this hill where the sun sets and let's paint pictures. And they got paints, they got paint, and they got little canvas things, and they went up on a hill together. They thought this up, you know, and they just went up there and they painted pictures that night. And they went up. They did several activities like that where they went together. They went down to the school a couple times and hung out there at the kind of the memorial around the school sign. I think that's a pretty incredible thing. You know, I think it teaches us as parents. Like, our kids are pretty incredible in that sense. Like, they actually, without our input, you know, we weren't telling them to go do these things. They just came up with things to do together.
It felt like the world shut down for a month. Like, there was nothing else going on besides just making sure that everybody was okay, making sure everybody was where they said they were going to be, and not leaving nobody alone by themselves. Just really trying to make sure to pick up everybody and try to, I guess, live life through Max, even though he's not with us.
Everybody has to be allowed to move through the grieving process and to do that their own way, as long as collectively as a community, again, it goes back to the community, especially the parents in the community, are keeping tabs on all of them and making sure they are progressing in a positive manner, that they are making good choices, that they are continuing to honor Max's memory and his life by doing great things. And I hear so much of that from my son and from the other kids as well.
I think what was most impressive to me was what happened afterwards, and some of the connections that I have through the fire department to find out how that same group that I witnessed being, witnessing an awful tragedy and being so vulnerable, watching them come together as a group, and watching the community support his family and all that, to me, that was tremendous.
In the whole process of planning his funeral and doing that during COVID, when there was all these restrictions and you had to be, there were limits, you know, to who could be involved and who could be together and how many people could be together, and it was impossible.
One of the ladies that was helping us there was like, you know, here are the guidelines, you know, you got the 6 feet and all this other stuff. And in my head, it's like, there's no way we're going to be able to do this, you know? There is no way, and we'll just let what happens, you know?
It feels like we were robbed, you know? That somebody with that much strength and that much potential and that much love didn't get to stick around, because we certainly could use, you know, a lot more of that.
I don't know, when I finally realized that like he was gone and stuff like that, I was destroyed. Like even till this day, like I got the dude on me right now. Like I still fully can't even comprehend it. Because like there's some days that I tell myself like this, there's no way it happened. Like just like what happened, there's no way. Because of the way I looked at him, like the guy in a sense to me looked immortal. So I still haven't even fully realized it.
From the moment where he hurt himself to the moment I last saw him, he was getting better every single day. There's days where I'm just like, wonder what he would be doing right now. I wonder how much better he would be.
Of course, like when the time came, it was hard.
There's ups and downs. Like days I just remember like how amazing it was, like with like being friends with him. And there's days where it just hits you like a wall. You know, you just crash and like you don't want to even get out of bed.
Of course, it's gonna be hard times. It's not gonna be easy. But if you really think about it and you really have your faith and trust in God, like it can get easier. I really just had to put my faith in God and know where Max is at right now.
It didn't really hit me till months later. So taking all that in at that moment was, I mean, it's something I never felt before. It was weird. It was so much to take in. Like I still didn't feel like it was real.
You don't want to say out of everyone why Max, but you know, because no one wants to lose anyone. But of all the people in this world who are not as amazing or good people, you know. So it was hard, you know, and it was hard to see me turn Goody that way. And it was hard to, you know, get that separation and put Max on the path for his next journey, you know. And actually, not Max, but Max's body, so. And then it was just numb.
When it all happened and people were posting about it, people that I had no clue knew who he was, or no clue talked to him, they would text me and be like, I saw him one time after a football game, and you know, they might have been friends with somebody he was friends with on the team, and they were like, I had a conversation with him and I never talked to him before, but he was the nicest person I've ever talked to. People who didn't even know who he was, then they had one conversation with him and remembered it. Like, I have never, like, I don't think anybody's ever seen somebody like touch that many people without realizing it. Because he didn't know how much of an impact he had on so many people that he might not even know at all.
Normally our age, the type of influence that people our age give is if they're big 5-star football or basketball recruits, they're like famous for something. For him to have the impact on the community that he did was unheard of. You never hear about a kid his age not have big football offers, being famous, affect kids all over the place.
You could just hear the stories and what people would have to say about him even prior to what happened. Like, the guy was, he was amazing. And there was nothing anybody could say that could change that. Like, even like, I've spoke with people who didn't even know the guy. And they were crying and they were freaking out and they were panicking. Like, somebody to leave an impact on so many people without even communicating with them, it really says a lot. And it's not something that can be like, I don't know. It's different with Max. I've never seen it like that.
People know I'm kind of salty, but Max always kind of just made everything all right, made everything okay. I always tell the guys, you know, what's the worst gonna happen? You know, what's the worst? You can lose. All right, big deal. You get up, the sun's coming up, so what? And Max just always reminded me that football's fun, you know. Football's a game. Football's supposed to be fun, and I'm different. I'm different on the field now because of Max. I'm different in the classroom because of Max. I just remember that it's supposed to be fun, and you're not always given this opportunity. It can be taken any time, you know. And you know, when I took the job over at Olympia, you know, I brought a lot of what I've learned from Max. Not that he taught me, but just what I saw and how he acted. And I just wanted the kids to know that it's okay. I want you to be dogs and have a good time, but not in the classroom. You are got to be just the best kids in the classroom and just dogs in the field. Because Max was a straight dog. I'm not gonna lie, Max was a dog. He would try and blindside and decleat you, and he'd help you back up. And that's what Max. It's just a different joy for the game. Love it. Every minute I had with Max, loved it.
He's made me a way better person this past year than I could make myself in 10 years. All these things that he was, I'm implementing into my life. And I've never felt better.
I was in a position to where I really didn't know what I was gonna do, and I was kind of lost. I was doing this and that, trying to, I guess, build myself in a direction to make myself look good for other people and not mentally stabilizing myself on my own. And he's changed it in the sense that I've quit caring so much about what other people are doing and not about how other people are feeling, because I'll always care about people like that, but like to really just make sure I'm progressing and doing well for my own. Because we used to talk about the idea of like me being the uncle to his kids and all that stuff, and I'll always talk about that. Like, we were sitting in San Diego and we were just sitting inside and we were like, bro, Max, dude, I can't wait, man. Our kids are gonna be, they're gonna be little athletes, and we finna train them, we finna do everything. He would always talk about like Syracuse's track team, and he was like, bro, we're gonna get girls like that. And I'm like, yeah, bro, we're gonna do it. And it was so cool. Like, yeah, he's changed my life tremendously. Like, when the day comes that I'm sitting where I want to be, like, a lot of that's gonna be because of him.
Max, so much can be said about you, but there are just some things we will never forget when telling people about you.
Man, just his voice, honestly. Just his voice, because it's always happy. It always had some type of, there's that thing, you know, that intense joy, you know, where he's super nice, but there's always that kind of aggressive tone in Max's voice that was always just there. I'll always remember his voice because it was always just going. Not like running his mouth, but it was always just like, it was always at a point. Like we would say, move with a purpose. Max spoke with a purpose. I'll always remember that.
You just like couldn't go wrong with him. He would never let you be mad at him. He never had any problems with anybody. He was just friendly. Like, I've never met somebody who could so easily, didn't even try to, like, he just so easily made people love him.
It's so hard because even nowadays it's hard finding people. You can't find people like him.
If you ever saw a picture of him, you ever saw him play a sport, you ever saw him on social media dancing, that smile, man, he touched you somehow.
Like, whenever I'm down, whenever I'm stuff like that, I try speaking to him. Sometimes I'll be driving home and I just be talking. It sounds a bit crazy, but sometimes I'm like, hey Max, how you doing? And I know he's listening somewhere. There's so many things that I go throughout my day doing, and that I've changed my life and my patterns because of what happened. Like, his passing has shaped my life, like in such a direction to where, like, I was in like a deep like depression, very bad stage, dealing with anxiety and all that stuff. And after everything happened, I feel like he's up there and he's just like slowly pulling everything off of me. And like, I don't know. If I could speak with him one more time or chat with him, that would be dope. I would.
What would you say to him?
Thank you. If I just had to say something to him, honestly. Like, I could tell him I love him, but he knows that. We used to say it to each other all the time. I tell it to all my friends and people that I love and care about.
If you have a son, that's kind of who you want your son to be like. And that's any kid. You want your kids. You always want your kids to be better than you, and that's, you know, Max is he's just someone you never forget, you know? Everyone talks about leaving their legacy, and he didn't leave it on the field. He didn't leave it, he just left it in your heart because he just cared about people, man. He just genuinely cared about you. Genuinely cared if you were sad, if you were salty, if you were happy. He want to know why you're happy. I never want to know why you're happy. I want to know you don't feel bad. He want to know why you were happy. And he cared about people. And that was the thing about Max. And I think that goes unnoticed. I think that really goes unnoticed, you know. And I just want people to know, man, that Max just cared. You know, I just don't know how else to say it. Like he wanted people to feel good, no matter what. You know, that's how it was. That's how Max was. He just wanted people to feel good and always be happy because he was.
Honestly, Max is really not someone you can really explain to others about, like how nice he was, how kind he was. It was just something you got to see personally. I don't know what I would tell the people. I would want other people to know about him. He was a man of his own. He was a legend. That's what I tell people, he's a legend.
I wake up every day, and even before I go to bed, and I just thank God for giving me the time to be able to get to know a guy like that.
I'm grateful that he lived the kind of life that makes other people better people. I'm 48, and this kid made me a better person. I'm grateful that he rode his bike through a construction site in 3rd grade and didn't think I was some weird creeper for coming up and trying to get him to maybe be friends with my son, and that I love him.
I appreciate and love him for all the times he watched out for my family. You know, my daughter, even Andrea, just bringing her stuff, auntie, you know, just that love that just take for granted, but it's not here, and it's missing.
Said this in an interview 9-10 months ago, but I'll say it again because it still kills me to this day that I didn't get to say it, but I looked up to him. It's hard to tell somebody younger than you that you look up to them, because he told me that all the time, but in reality, like, I looked up to him just as, like, not even as just mainly a football player, just as a person. The way he handled situations, the way he never let anything bring him down. Like, I'm getting better at that every single day, and that is because of him. Like, I look up to him for those reasons, and if he was sitting right there where you are, that's what I would tell him.
But if you were here, knowing your love for your family, one person said it best.
Go give your mom a hug, because she, like, as much as everyone would want to, like, see him and everything, I think, like, of course, like, his mom and as well as his brother, like, they would need that the most more than anybody.
A question to this day we all ask is why? I know for me and a lot of others, we will never stop asking that question. In a world full of so much hate, negativity, and darkness, why was such a bright light taken away from us? With so much to live for, so many dreams still to achieve and life to live, why were we cheated from being able to see all those moments become a reality? And without a single doubt, they would have become a reality, Max, because you lived up to your name. In life, laughter, and in love, and in every other situation, you always gave your max. So yes, there's no doubt it would have become more than just a dream. Max, you were and still are the best of us. Even in your passing, you still managed to bring so many people together and influence them to live like you did. There isn't a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about you. And that's why on the 18th of every month, life just almost seems to stop as we remember and reflect on the 18-year-old beautiful soul that we lost. I was interviewed once about you, Max, and I told them, I know when people pass, they speak about how good a person is, but no matter what you write, you will never be able to capture who you were. Even in the making of this documentary, it doesn't matter how many stories people tell or how many memories we share. It doesn't matter how many different ways I splice this together or how I try to narrate this. It still won't even come close to capturing the type of person you were. When people ask me about you, I tell them, Max was an experience, and unless you experienced him, then you will never truly be able to know. As for me and the rest of us, we patiently wait for the day that we'll be able to experience you again. Until then, we hold on to every memory of you, gone, but could never possibly be forgotten. Long live Maximus Aunese.
New day, sky crashes into the sea, holding everything in place. What falls apart starts coming back together. Stars burn out and become new. Can't predict what people do, but I'm still holding on to you. I'm still holding on to you. All the days we colored blue, I'd go anywhere with you. And if the world stopped spinning too, I'd be holding on to you. Our time is never the stuff in our minds. I could walk into the night, coming out the other side for better. We chase things that make the light wanna stay, holding everything in place, trying to find a way back together. Stars burn out and become new. Can't predict what people do, but I'm still holding on to you. I'm still holding on to you. All the days we colored blue, I'd go anywhere with you. And if the world stopped spinning too, I'd be holding on to you. 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 Take me back to the nights we felt alive, picking up the pieces on a summer night. I didn't know that I would feel just like my heart's on fire whenever I'm with you. Cause we go back in time to thrills I miss and all the things I wish we did. All I know is that I need somebody like you. Cause I can't waste another night sitting here alone, hoping for your voice on the telephone. I know it's a supercut as you walk away, playing in my mind all the things I'd never close my eyes. And the sky's on fire. I can't waste another night sitting here alone. We can do it all again, and I'll never let you go. Never gonna let go. Never gonna let, never let you go. Never gonna let, no, never let you go.
Take me back to another sunrise, back when all I ever needed was by my side. You're a star brighter than Venus, I'm your satellite whenever I'm with you. Cause we go back in time to thrills I miss and all the things I wish we did. All I know is that I need somebody like you. Cause I can't waste another night sitting here alone, hoping for your voice on the telephone. I know it's a supercut as you walk away, playing in my mind all the things I never close my eyes. And the sky's on fire. I can't waste another night sitting here alone. We can do it all again, and I'll never let you go.